Good morning, everybody, or I should say good afternoon, everybody. Today is Monday, the 11th of March, 2024. Big Monday energy. Apologies for the later episode in the day. My wife and I were feeling a little bit under the weather, but we're feeling better now, and we're just taking the day today. Today, I'm actually drinking a afternoon little coffee shot here, basically to kind of keep the energy going here. Just a straightforward coffee, K-cup, you know the drill. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. So this episode is sponsored by the subscribe button. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to tune in to all of the content and stay up to date with everything that I am doing on this channel. My name is Soul Bouquet. I'll be hosting today, just like every other day. We have a lot to talk about. I'm actually really excited about today. Before I do that, though, if you are interested in sponsoring an episode of Good Morning Everybody, please reach out to me at contactgoodmorningeverybody@gmail.com. That'll be linked in the description. Just reach out. You know, we can talk about that, and I'd certainly love sponsorship in the future. Today in history, A Raisin in the Sun debuts on Broadway. This is actually a really cool moment in history. Apparently, Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun was the first Broadway play written by a black woman, and it opened in the Ethel Barrymore Theater in New York on March 11th, 1959. Taking its title from Langston Hughes' poem Harlem, Hansberry's story follows a working class black family from the south side of Chicago hoping to improve their lives. Raised herself on Chicago's south side, Hansberry's parents were racial justice activists, and A Raisin in the Sun was inspired by her life. It was also the first Broadway show to feature a black director, Lloyd Richards, and its stars include Sidney Poitier, Ruby Dee, Claudia McNeil, and Louis Gossett. I'm sorry if I massacred any of those names, but a really wonderful moment in history. Again, this was 1959. So we have a lot of stuff we want to talk about today. But first, we're going to start off with one of the most important things, which is to say the weather. Do want to make sure that we're keeping our boys and girls out there going out into the wide world safe from any potential weather. It's not going to be crazy today, though. It looks pretty dry, actually, today. Not a huge chance of precipitation unless you're in the northwest seaboard or towards like Maine. It looks like there's some precipitation, but nothing crazy happening today. Weather itself, again, very minimal across the United States, which is awesome. It's a really beautiful sunny day out there. I really encourage you guys to get outside and go on a walk if you're able. Temperatures are also looking a lot better today. So it's looking like, throughout most of the United States, it's actually a bit warmer today. The Midwest is really seeing higher temperatures. We're seeing upwards of 70 degrees in the Midwest. Northeast seaboard is seeing higher temperature as well. We're getting close to, it looks like mid 50s to maybe even 60s, depending on where you are, if you're further south especially. Northwest seaboard, we're seeing some colder weather coming down from Canada, but still not nearly as bad as it has been. We are seeing warmer temperatures. I think spring is absolutely on its way. So very, very stoked about that. Excited for the warmer weather, especially as a warmer boy. But the Oscars happened last night, so let's talk about that. I'm very excited to talk about the Oscars because a lot of really cool things happened. Firstly, our boy, Robert Downey Jr., first Oscar of his career, first Academy Award of his career. He won Best Supporting Actor in a supporting role for Oppenheimer, and that's him taking in the victory right there. Again, wonderful to see that. It's crazy. He's been in so many movies up to this point. He's such a prolific actor, but this is his first Academy Award. So good job, RDJ, finally getting that Oscar. Moving on, we're going to talk about just real quick highlights for, sort of the major hits of the evening. That is to say, sorry, 1 second. Let me just get rid of that. That is to say, what the big winners were, any drama that happened. Not very much drama, although there was one thing that happened that's very funny. We're going to talk about that later in the show. Oppenheimer coming in number one in the number of Oscars won. It had 13 nominations, it says there, but it took home 7 Oscars last night. Best Picture including. So Best Picture went to Oppenheimer last night. On top of that, very, very cool to see that we have Cillian Murphy here taking home Best Actor in a leading role, an Oscar for him. And a really cool moment as well, because this is actually the first Irish-born Oscar. So he's an Irish-born man, and he won an Oscar, and apparently that is the first time that's happened, which is crazy to think about, but a wonderful moment for Cillian Murphy and a wonderful moment for Ireland as well. So good on you for winning that. Watched Oppenheimer myself, and it was a phenomenal movie, so I'm very happy to see that. Going on to Poor Things, though, very interesting. Poor Things took home 4 Oscars yesterday. Very cool to see that. It was sort of a shoo-in for a lot of the art and production design Oscars. It actually won the Oscar for production design, makeup, and also costume design. But also, Emma Stone took home leading actress Oscar. She took home the Oscar for the best actress in a leading role, which is actually kind of crazy. So Emma Stone getting an Oscar as well. And then, of course, Poor Things doing very well. So those are sort of the two heavy hitters were Poor Things and Oppenheimer yesterday, which is crazy to see. Beyond that, though, we saw some interesting tidbits as well. A big win for Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. The Boy and the Heron actually took home the Oscar for the best feature-length animated film. Wonderful, wonderful victory for Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, and just a really cool thing to see, Studio Ghibli being represented on the national stage like that. So good job, Miyazaki, for that. Going forward, I do want to talk about one or two things. The first thing, of course, is we did talk about the holdovers drama that happened the day before the Oscars. Just as a brief recap, there was a bit of a tiff between a scriptwriter who went by Stevenson. He's known for Luca and other movies like that. He had apparently written a screenplay about a decade ago called Frisco, and he sent a letter to the Writers Guild of America basically being like, hey, the holdovers looks like they may have copied a lot, if not the entirety of their script from my screenplay, Frisco. And so that became pretty big drama, and it was interesting, especially on the eve of the Oscars, to see whether or not the holdovers would win Best Screenplay. It did not end up winning Best Screenplay, but again, the chance of that happening was pretty interesting, especially, being that might contribute to some sort of like larger lawsuit if that were to be the case. But no, it did not win Best Screenplay. In fact, the holdovers only took home one Oscar, and that was for an actress in a supporting role. And so that was the only Oscar that the holdovers won. But again, we're going to see how that kind of unfolds going forward. And we're going to see if any legal action does take place or if there are just some backroom negotiations, which I think that'll be the case. But let me know what you think in the comments. And of course, feel free with any of these articles to do your own research. I'm going to have all of the sources linked down below in the description. Feel free to read them. It's interesting stuff, and I wish you well. If there's anything that you want to add or things that you think I got wrong, leave it in the comments. Having said that, we are going to move on to sort of the op-ed portion of this. And I just want to show you a very quick video, a really, really tough to watch video. It's about employment, and it's about some YouTube drama, actually. And so I'm just gonna play this quick short for you. And of course, the short will be linked in the description below.
50 of us at YouTube Music, and we're taking on two of the largest corporations in the world. So to be supported by the city of Austin and also our allies in the labor community, give us the motivation to keep this fight going.
Not to interrupt, but they just laid us all off.
Oh.
Yeah, they just laid us all off.
I guess we just all got
Our jobs are ended today, effective immediately.
Wow.
I'm sorry your time's expired, but we'll...
So that is just heartbreaking to watch. As someone who is a fierce supporter of unions and just workers in general, that broke my heart. So apparently, just to kind of give some context to this was a small team in Austin working for YouTube Music, but they were working with a company that was basically a staffing company to supply Google and YouTube Music with workers. And that company is called Cognizant. The long story short of that is that Cognizant laid these people off day of because of their efforts to advocate for better working conditions as well as better wages. You can see there, according to the AWU, which is the sort of unofficial Google union, that these workers at YouTube Music were making as little as $19 an hour with very minimal benefits. Many were forced to work multiple jobs to make ends meet. And of course, Jack Benedict, who was a YouTube data analyst and a member of the Alphabet Workers Union, noted that YouTube Music workers had struck last year in opposition to YouTube's return to office policy, many of which would have led to loss of jobs anyway because they lived so far away from Austin. And so they were advocating for fairer compensation as well as the ability to continue working from home. And Cognizant and Google spokespeople have both come forward basically saying Google basically pointed the finger at Cognizant saying they're responsible for their pay, whatever. But Cognizant has come forward essentially saying that these were temporary positions to begin with, and although unfortunate, that the expiration of their contracts that day was a natural expiration of their contracts, and that was the plan all along. A lot of the workers have basically come forward saying that is not true, that there was no announcement of these positions being temporary at any point, and that it was very sudden, many of which saying that they actually were escorted out by security from their buildings and offices and barely had any time whatsoever to get their personal belongings from their former cubicles. So it seems like that this was a bit of a union bust, and I am a fierce opposer of that sort of practice, and so it's just heartbreaking to see this happen, and I'm pretty disgusted by Google and Cognizant undergoing and participating in that sort of employee action. I'm also going to go on and read this, which is very interesting. Google apparently still refuses to negotiate a contract despite a National Labor Board ruling saying that it violates U.S. labor law. So they basically were told by the U.S. The National Labor Board that according to U.S. labor law, you have to negotiate with this union, and Google refused to. And then this layoff happened, and 43 people lost their jobs. So it's just very, very suspect behavior, and Google and this contractor Cognizant are being accused of union busting because of it, and I think that's what happened. Granted, they can say that it was a temporary contract to begin with, and that this was a natural ending of their jobs, but all they want. But at the end of the day, this was a union bust, and at the end of the day, this was a mass layoff that happened very suddenly, to the point where these people were in the middle of advocating at a Austin council meeting. And that's when it happened. So just really heartbreaking to see. If you want to read any more about that, please feel free to take a look at these sources that I'm going to have linked down below. I'm going to have all of these articles, including the short that was provided by YouTube, to look through all of that and kind of come to your conclusions. Of course, with everything, there are multiple sides to the story, but this does seem pretty cut and dry that it unfortunately was a union bust and a sudden and sort of a vicious layoff of these 43 individuals working for YouTube Music. So pretty sad news, unfortunately, but like everything and like every person working in the technology working in the technology industry, all these people are extremely talented. All these people will find jobs going forward, and they will continue to fight the good fight and for better compensation and fair working environments in the technology industry. So I wish them the best of luck, and I wish them quick turnarounds when it comes to their job hunt and being able to begin working again. So having said that, we're going to move on to something a little bit more upbeat and a little bit more. So I'm going to preface this. The artist highlight of the day is actually a moment from the Oscars. The only other piece of drama that happened, not drama, I don't want to say that. The only other thing that happened during the Oscars, which I find hilarious, is that apparently John Cena decided to pull a little bit of a stunt. And I don't know if this was something that was negotiated behind the scenes or if it was just something he wanted to do so badly and they were like, whatever, you can do it. Stop the video or pause or look away if you don't want to see a basically naked John Cena aside from a small little envelope. But 5, 4, it's coming soon. Look away if you don't want to see a naked John Cena. 3, 2, and 1. And this is what happened at the Oscars yesterday. Hilarious. Apparently this is a hat tip to the Oscar streaker that happened several years ago. Yeah, apparently for best costume design, he came out with just Birkenstocks and the envelope to cover literally everything else. So that happened yesterday. That's the art of the week. Thank you, John Cena, for the art of the. Thank you, John Cena, for the art of the day. And we're going to move on to the Small Creator Club. I'm very excited about this one, actually. So this is actually coming from WDW Insider, Small Creator Club today, and it is. WDW is actually a channel that basically covers theme park stories as well as just sort of lost media when it comes to theme parks and coverage of new parks coming out, old parks, abandoned media, all of that. Seems like a really cool channel. Feel free to subscribe and follow them at WDW Insider, but I did just want to show a little bit of a clip from their sort of featured video here, and I'm actually going to subscribe right now.
River country, big river country, it's a hoot, it's a holler, it's a water jamboree. River country, big river country, if you're hot around the collar, it's a cool place to be.
Welcome to our journey into the past, as we dive into the forgotten waves.
I'm going to leave it right there, but really cool channel, right? It gives me It gives me like DFB vibes, like the Disney food blog vibes, but it's more like in the vein of like historical documentation and sort of coverage of like old media as well as older parks and like why they closed or where they went or where they are now. Very interesting stuff. So go and, give him some love. WDW Insider. It's going to be linked down in the description below. Subscribe, follow him. He makes great content and, he deserves more love in my opinion. So moving on, we're going to go on to the quote of the day. Today's quote is interesting. I have a little bit to say about it, actually. Today's quote is from Brainy. Quote, "One who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived." And that is from Niccolo Machiavelli. Very interesting quote. For as much as I understand what that quote means, that, people will always, who are manipulative will always find people to manipulate. I also think that kind of puts the onus on the people being manipulated in a way that I don't really find great. And so be kind to yourself. Make sure that, you know for a fact and you're able to tell yourself and look in the mirror that anytime someone's been bad to you or manipulated you or lied to you or deceived you, that it's not your fault. It's not. They're bad people. People that are really good at manipulating are really good at being bad people. And there are people out there like that. So be kind to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. It's not your fault. Okay? I just wanted to say that. Quote of the day can sometimes get a little dicey, but it is what it is. Having said that, I just want to guys thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have a great rest of your Monday. I know it was a little bit of a later episode, but I just I really appreciate your viewership, and right here is where Patreon is going to go once it's set up. And so if you want to become a patron, it's going to be linked down below. If you want to follow any of our comings and goings, any content changes, we have community posts now. So feel free to like, subscribe, and click the alert notification bell so that you can stay up to date with everything we're doing. Having said all of that, if you want to sponsor or if you want to become a supporter, contact goodmorningeverybody@gmail.com. And if you want to submit any art or a channel that you want to have featured, it's going to be goodmorningsubmissions@gmail.com. Both of those are going to be linked down below in the descriptions. Having said that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, drink plenty of water today, and be kind to yourself. All right, have a great Monday, guys. Take care.